G'day and welcome back to Cracked, the little corner of the Not So Bright Side network where we discuss some very real, confirmed conspiracies and some less real, very made up bullshit conspiracy theories. Today, my guest is Sam's, aka qu4rtztv, sex store employee, cannabis enthusiast, and one of the co hosts of the Not So Bright Side stream. Sam's, welcome to Cracked.
Thank you for having me. That's the best introduction I've ever had. Like on a
You got to hit
podcast
the
or
high
anything.
points.
Yeah, literally the high point. Hey.
Yeah, that's right. I've been keen to get you on here because I've been wanting to ask, like, what is your favorite? What's your go-to conspiracy theory?
That Kurt Cobain didn't kill himself.
Oh, a classic! Hell yeah!
I don't know if it counts as a conspiracy theory, like under like the topic of things, but you can't change my mind. There is so much in my mind, and that I've researched. Like this is the only one that, like how you've researched many of them. This is the only one I have put that effort into, and
I do have a couple of questions about that whole thing. Courtney was hanging out with a hitman leading up to it. The last few lines on the suicide note are the only ones that make it sound like a suicide note, and they're in different handwriting a little bit, so it is a bit dodgy.
A lot of it was scratched out. The lead detective that was on the scene of the crime also to this day still admits that he doesn't believe it was a suicide. Investigation. He believes straight off from the bat he was murdered. There's so much I could go on for days. Like
the fact that he had enough heroin in his system to kill a fucking horse,
and like so much heroin that his arms were so limp he wouldn't be able to lift up a pen, let alone that like 12 gauge shotgun to put into his jaw. Like, man, so much.
It's a little bit dodgy. I have another question for you.
Yeah, sure.
Have you heard of the Mandela Effect?
Yeah, I have. Is this what we're talking about?
A little bit.
Oh, cool.
Well, the Mandela Effect is a term coined by Fiona Broome, a paranormal researcher. She's written a bunch of books, mostly about ghost hunting and haunted houses, but also she's done like a 15-book series on Mandela effects. But it's like self-published internet stuff. So
yeah, of course.
So I wrote 15 books. Okay. Well, the Mandela Effect is a term for when large groups of people remember something like an event or a movie or a book differently than the majority of people. Sometimes people recall an event taking place that never happened, like the namesake of the term Nelson Mandela. A lot of people think that he died in prison in the 80s. A lot of people claim they can clearly remember not only reports of his death, but footage of his funeral and memorial services. But that's surprising because Mandela didn't die in prison in the 80s. He finished his prison sentence and went on to become the president of South Africa and died in 2013. That death I remember. But there are a few like really famous examples of the Mandela Effect. The most famous are probably the Berenstain Bears, like which way is it spelt? And of course the Sinbad genie movie that never existed. It was not a thing.
I remember that. That's one that like I remember, but I will admit I don't know if it's just something I saw on the internet once as a meme or something, and then replace my own memory.
Right. That's right. There's quite a few like that people bring up.
Yeah.
So you've mentioned do you know of any other Mandela effects off the top of your head?
Not on the top of my head. Like I'm sure if like I knew before we had the conversation today that I'd be able to name a couple, but they're the two that I know. That Nelson Mandela died in prison, which I don't believe. I don't remember at all, so I can't back that one up. And the Genie movie. That's in like I believe that it wasn't called Shazam, it was called Kazam or something, or the other way around.
Right, Kazam or something. Yeah, but I don't remember there being a Sinbad movie, but I think that was supposed to be from the mid, maybe early 90s, so maybe a little bit before my time. Also, why I don't remember Nelson Mandela dying in prison because I was two.
Well, I feel like that's like to back that one up, we would have studied it. Like it would have been a topic.
Probably would have. Yeah, we probably would have heard if he died, and then wait, no, he didn't. Well, lately, people are claiming that there are new examples of the Mandela Effect. One that I saw brought up a lot, especially on TikTok, is the end of the Queen song "We Are the Champions." So a lot of people remember the last line as finishing, "We are the champions of the world." But recently, to people's horror, listening to the song again, the final line is now just "We are the champions." The song just fades out after that. Another great example, and I've got to admit this one fucking got me, is Tutankhamun's death mask. I could have sworn it was just a cobra in the center of the mask, in the headpiece, but a Google image search will show that it's actually a cobra and a vulture side by side. So if you want to Google that, Sam, and have a look and see if that
I'm
looks
looking
weird
right
to
now.
you. Honestly,
Oh,
it blew my mind because I
I
could have
don't
sworn it
remember
was
that.
just the snake. I don't remember the vulture being there at all, but whatever. So we all remember things wrong. Like, it happens. We all have blind spots when it comes to song lyrics and historical events and the way some shit's spelt. But it can really, really throw you when you're shown evidence that you're remembering something wrong. Some people seem unable to accept that memory is just iffy sometimes, and they have found a way to blame. They've found something to blame for these so-called Mandela effects.
Are we going to talk about what I think we're going to talk about?
The Large Hadron Collider is an extremely powerful particle accelerator located 175 meters under the border of France and Switzerland. I'm going to put this in the most simple terms I can because I'm not a physicist, and so that's the only way I can put it. Using the Large Hadron Collider, or the LHC, as I'll refer to it from now on, because it's a lot of words that I don't want to use all the time. The LHC, protons and ions are pushed around a 27 kilometer long loop until they reach almost the speed of light, and are then made to collide at certain points around the ring. I think it's at 4 points around the ring they collide, and they can measure what happens there.
Yeah.
This helps scientists study what happens to particles in circumstances similar to the Big Bang, in order to help answer questions they have about things like dark matter. Like, why is there more dark matter in the universe? Why is there more matter in the universe than dark matter? And the origin of mass, and all this physics shit. All to have a better understanding of things like particle physics and the state. Physics is complicated, right? It's not
Yeah,
easy.
that's
Shit,
all right.
right?
You're doing really well to explain it. I understand what you mean.
Did I? Because I don't know.
No, you're paying it off well, because like I remember getting into researching what this was because of the Dan Brown novel Angels and Demons and the film that dealt with it. So like from what I remember of like when I was in my ADHD hyperfixation or hyper, whatever it is, I can't think right now. I remember some of the things you're saying. So yeah, you're on point. I'm still lost about this fucking mask though. I don't remember the vulture being on there. It was just
I know, right? That fucked me up so
yeah.
bad.
No, that's gotten me. Yeah.
Well, when I was a teenager, I got really into quantum mechanics and string theory and shit. It's really interesting, but it's really difficult to explain simply. The most basic way I can put it is that scientists are trying to figure out why things work the way they do on a tiny scale. What is everything made up of, and why do things move the way they do? I watched an interview with an expert in quantum mechanics years ago, and he said something along the lines of, if you think you understand quantum mechanics, you absolutely do not understand quantum mechanics. And because this stuff's only barely understood by a small number of people, it leaves a lot of room for like Gwyneth Paltrow style woo-woo bullshit.
Yeah.
Where there's a lack of understanding, there's room for people to explain it wrong, either accidentally, like I probably have, or maliciously in order to further their own ideals. In this case, it's the spread of dangerous fear-mongering about black holes destroying the Earth, or opening portals to hell, or shifting our reality into a different dimension.
They all sound so good.
I know, right? Anyone, if it was real, it'd be so cool.
Yeah, right? If I saw it on the news, I'd be like, oh. Just
It'd be great. It'd be great.
yeah.
So as far as I understand it, black holes are created when something's mass is so huge that it collapses in on itself. This can happen when giant stars explode, known as supernovas. Black holes can be insanely huge. The biggest one we currently know of is called TON 618, and it is more than twice the size of our galaxy. Not just our solar system, our entire Milky Way galaxy.
It's pretty fucking big, yeah.
It's immensely huge. The sheer size of this terrifies me. And equally as terrifying is what happens if you were to fall into a black hole. The actual name for what happens when you fall into a black hole is called spaghettification. Your body would be compressed and stretched. You'd just be ripped apart instantly.
Oh, that
But
sounds kind of cool.
it
Like
kind
in
of
a
does.
like in the worst way, not in a good way. Not like
You probably wouldn't feel shit. It'd be over in like that.
yeah, it would be quick. Yeah, hopefully.
But no human will ever experience this. Like the closest black hole is 1,500 light years away. That's further than we're ever likely to reach. As far as my research has gone, and by my research I mean reading other people's research, it is theoretically possible to create a tiny black hole on Earth. And by tiny, I mean like smaller than you can imagine. Like just if they manage to create a black hole with the LHC, it will be a massive scientific achievement and also totally safe. Like it wouldn't destroy the planet. It's just not. It's not gonna. It doesn't work like that. But this hasn't stopped people from claiming that this is exactly what the LHC was made for, though. Some YouTube conspiracy theorists spread the idea that when the LHCs turned on, we would, possibly all just be instantly killed. In the blink of an eye, there would be no more Earth. There have even been some lawsuits filed against them to stop it from being turned on because it may be so dangerous. But all of those lawsuits were just thrown out of court. People are scared for nothing. They just don't understand it. And some people are so scared that they've actually taken their own lives. In
Wow.
2008, in the lead up to the LHC being activated for the first time, a 16-year-old girl drank pesticide because she saw predictions of the end of the world due to the LHC on Indian television. Well, the LHC has been turned on multiple times, and so far, no black holes, not even the theoretically possible tiny ones. The black hole conspiracy theories have sort of died out since that and have been replaced with portals to hell.
I mean, that would be awesome. Like on a piece of paper in a science fiction horror film, awesome. I'm all about it.
I'd watch a movie about that.
Yeah, definitely.
In recent months, conspiracy theories about portals opening up above the White House and the Kremlin have popped up in QAnon circles. And for years now, QAnon has ridden on the back of the satanic panic of the 80s and 90s, and religious-based conspiracies have really taken off. It doesn't help that a particle discovered by using the LHC, known as the Higgs boson, is nicknamed the God particle. People think that's a clue to something. It's just a nickname. People have conflated the very real theory of alternate or parallel universes or dimensions with mostly Christian beliefs and are claiming that the LHC is a tool to open a portal to the dimension of hell. I just don't know how to argue against this one. I don't know what to say. It's as an atheist, I don't know how to argue against something that's like, oh, they're doing this to get to this thing that I don't know, whatever. But the theory I like the most is not too dissimilar to the portal to hell theory. Many people are concerned that each time the LHC is turned on, the whole planet is shifted into a parallel dimension. Mostly the same as the one we come from, but with small differences. Now, I fully believe in the possibility of the multiverse. Like that's...
I do too.
Yeah, it is possible. But I also fully believe that if the multiverse theory is correct, we couldn't travel to different realities. I don't think it works like that.
No, yeah. I just think they kind of like they're like a layer upon a layer, and we are stuck in this one.
Yeah, yeah. Or the different bubbles all touching and floating around each other, but that's not exactly what it really is. It's just the only way we can possibly imagine what it would be like.
Exactly, yeah.
Some people do think you'd be able to travel to different dimensions or parallel universes. People like Fiona Broom, our Mandela Effect friend. Broom started talking about the Mandela Effect shortly after the LHC was turned on for the first time in 2008. The theory is that we've shifted, and some people can remember events or details from our old reality. We've simply shifted to a universe that is almost identical to ours. But if the multiverse theory is correct, there would be an infinite number of universes where every conceivable variation of every single thing is possible. A universe where dolphins are the dominant species on our planet, a universe where things fall up, a universe where humans evolved with tails, like whatever, like anything you can imagine.
That sounds
so that means that statistically speaking, if we were to shift into another universe, it's more likely to be completely different to our own one. Not just have small differences like a Sinbad movie that was never made.
But what if we're taking little things from each universe? So, like from this one, we're taking the death of Nelson Mandela. This one, we're taking Sinbad or Shaq as the fucking genie, and like Queen not finishing the Queen one. I can explain. I actually like when you
I'll actually talk about that more in a little while.
sweet, yeah, that one I was
Um,
like, I think I know the mix up on that one, but like
yeah,
the Tutankhamun one got me. But like, what if we're taking little things from each thing rather than one big shift? That's like multiple shifts each
yeah,
time it's
that
done.
could be it. But then you got to think about tiny little things like the butterfly effect. Something
Yeah,
small happens here, something affects something much bigger later on. Nelson Mandela dying in the 80s before he was president of South Africa, you'd think that would have huge changes, but we don't, unless we've shifted and we don't know about the changes because we're from a different reality. I mean, the whole thing's just physics, man. It's
so
complicated.
much fun. Sorry.
But that's my interpretation of it is that if we're just shifting to a different universe, like what are the chances of finding ourselves in a universe where basically everything is exactly the same?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But anyway, with the LHC being turned on again in recent days, people are claiming to have noticed new Mandela effects. The Tutankhamun is a fucking really good one.
Pretty good.
The Queen lyrics one, that's old as shit. I've had this conversation years and years ago.
Yeah, I think I have too.
Yeah, heaps of people think that the song ends with of the world, but the song actually ends with the line "We are the champions." I think the live version from
That's
Live
it.
Aid,
Yeah.
that's where he sang of the world at the end. But the
Yeah.
album version, and so the version heard on the radio, doesn't have that.
Hmm.
So when people hear it, they think, "Oh, that's not the version I know."
Yeah.
Only because the live version is probably more famous than the
Oh
album
yeah.
version.
It's what they ended their shows on, I think, like 9 out of 10 times, and then they go into "God Saves the Queen." Freddie, what's his name? Brian May would play it on guitar.
Yeah,
But,
yeah. It's just something that people never noticed themselves, never picked up on until it was pointed out to them.
yeah,
Um, but the first TikTok I saw talking about these new Mandela effects, it was published before they actually turned on the LHC again. They're like, oh,
oh,
now that it's been turned back on, well, I've noticed these new things. But they've preemptively discovered proof of their theory before the instigating event happened. So they should have released, they should have made it, kept it in their folder, and then released it after the
yeah,
LHC was actually turned back on.
just to go with it. Yeah,
Yeah, that's right. Like Mandela effects are fun. They lead to some great arguments on Reddit and photoshops of Sinbad genie movie posters that never existed, but really all they are is evidence of how shit human memory is. Like we've said it before on Not So Bright Side that um eyewitnesses are not reliable.
no, definitely
That
not.
we say some dumb shit. Like the human brain is a remarkable thing, but it does suck at recalling details accurately sometimes. That's all the Mandela effect is: occurrences of people misremembering things, usually inconsequential things. There's never anything big or important that people remember different. If one person remembers something completely different, they're just insane. If a whole bunch of people remember it, then it's mass hysteria. That's all. So the LHC hasn't caused us to shift into another dimension. It hasn't opened a portal to hell, and it certainly hasn't created any black holes yet. Please don't drink pesticide.
Way ahead of you. I'm good. I don't even
Yeah,
own it.
yeah, or bleach for that matter.
Oh, okay, sorry.
That's all I had to say about the Large Hadron Collider tonight. I thought I was going to make it longer, but honestly, I just wanted to talk about Mandela effects. They're fun.
I think
There's so
it's
many of them, and most of them are just remembering song lyrics wrong or
yeah.
spelling things differently.
Yeah, like that. I'm not lying. Like you've floored me. The Tutankhamun one. Like I remember
I know,
drawing that in like
right?
year 2 or whatever, and like and only doing one. I remember seeing only one. Like I'll vouch for that one. It's like, all right, QAnon, you got me on one.
I had a little carving of Tutankhamun. I should make the effort to say it properly. It's
Tutankhamun.
Tutankhamun.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Canadian.
and I remember it being just the cobra, but it's
Yeah,
possible that someone drew it or designed it like that just to make it a simple version. I mean,
yeah.
white people have been doing shit wrong forever. It wouldn't surprise me if some fucking dude at a museum was like, "Yeah, I can't be bothered doing the vulture as well."
We are known to cut corners, so I
Oh yeah,
understand. Yeah.
oh yeah.
without a doubt.
Before we finish up, Sam's, is there anything you want to plug? Your Twitch?
Yeah, you
Your
can find me
TikTok?
on this incredible podcast that I do. That's a live cast, as we call it, on Twitch. You can find it on the channel twitch.tv/Volky. That's VOLLKKI, and it's the Not So Bright Side, where Steve it also joins me, the beautiful, handsome one of the group. He's like the bad boy of the group, I think. Like all boy bands have a bad boy. It'd be Steve, and you can find me on Twitch under his qu4rtztv. But yeah, no, the Nelson Mandela one, I like to wrap things up, man. Like, honest to God, is like one of my favorite things to converse about. Like, it's
fun. I like Mandela effects. They're cool. There's some good ones.
It's the one when people get stoned, I start bringing them up, but not as like, hey, did you hear this Nelson Mandela effect or Mandela effect? I'd just be like, oh, did you hear this? And you see him be like, what? And then that's it. You've done for days,
Yeah. You don't say it's a Mandela effect. You say, no, don't you remember?
Yeah.
It's always been this way.
You just
you're
go
the
from
bad,
there.
you're the bad trip sitter. Do you
Oh,
feel
man,
like your skin's too tight?
I'm horrible at that. Like, as soon as I know, like the other night at work, these two guys came in. And I knew they were stoned. Like, one of them I work with, and his mate. I was just like, man, don't you feel like there's worms in your fingers sometimes? Just like, ah. And he was like,
I feel like, man, that guy out there's been watching you the whole time. I can feel a little bit paranoid.
Just wait till you see someone looking in that general direction. But no, thank you so much for having me, Steve. This is fun. This is genuine.
I'll have you back again to talk about what was that one you brought up at
the Kurt Cobain one.
Kurt Cobain, yeah.
Man,
we'll have to go over Kurt Cobain. That's a fun one.
Oh my God, I'm convinced that's not a Mandela effect either. 100% he killed himself, man. I mean, he was murdered. Shit. Sorry, it's been a long day.
All right, that's it for the Large Hadron Collider tonight. Thanks for checking us out. Don't forget, like Sam said, you can catch us most weeks doing the Not So Bright Side at twitch.tv/Volky. That's VOLLKKI. And remember, don't believe everything you read on the internet.